Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and here we do a little bit of all things creepy, but this month specifically, we are doing nothing but reading stories that you guys have sent in to me. So, with that being said, if you have any stories for me to read, please send them to this email address. I'll also put it in the description along with more details and podcast episode links and other social media links. So, check all of that out, and let's get into these stories. A little background: I'm an 18-year-old female from Idaho, and this story took place when I was 15 living in a rural part of Idaho. Not quite out of town, but a couple of huge fields surrounding the property. There was a few old sheds, some barely standing, others filled with rusted stoves and refrigerators. In the very back of the closest field was a giant tree, white as snow, dead as a doornail. But every year, a large family of hawks would nest there. I want to say the events really started after construction began, and the tree was cut down. You tore the tree down? Oh no, oh no. Oh, that's not going to be good. I've had issues when it comes to sleep, so at the time I shared a room with my dad. There were security cameras outside the window facing the trees and one outside the bedroom door. Well, it all started with seeing shadows in the corner of my eye, then a silhouette, tall and dark, looming. This thing was over 7 feet tall at least. It turned into a large black dog along with a little boy, with his bone mask appearing in front of the camera. Right outside the shower curtain, every time anyone showered, the whole family went through a deep depression and anger. We always felt these emotions and had no control over it. We've since moved out, but not before finding our cats unalived and put in coolers inside these sheds. The whole place just gave the most eerie vibes I've ever witnessed. I fear the worst part was being tormented and made to feel crazy. Update. It followed us recently. My parents moved into a new place with a few roommates, one of them being very sensitive about paranormal happenings. My dad has been the one to suffer the most from this entity, but it really has begun attacking my mom as well. This thing makes my dad feel paranoid all the time, so much so that he's had trouble sleeping and functioning at all. We've done spiritual cleansings and a separation ritual, hoping this will get it away. It started to show itself again in a physical form. After a solid year of torment, after the ritual, my dad has been very sick. He's been sleeping for days, and I'll keep you posted on a situation as it unfolds. Until then, please, if you have any advice, feel free to get back to me. Okay, I do not know when the story was sent in to me. You said you did a separation ritual. Is that a cord cutting ritual, and have you tried that? Because I would do a cord cutting ritual if you haven't. Get as much energy as you can, as many people as you can to help you do it. You need all of the energy to cut ties with this thing because that is an attachment. On top of that, you need to be doing cleansings and banishments. It's going to take a lot of energy, some time, but yes, this thing needs to go. It's literally draining the energy off of your dad especially, so yes. Alright, next story. I've been following your page for a while now, and I live in Pennsylvania as well. I live in Northeast Pennsylvania, and I grew up in the mountains. Boy, do I have some stories for you. I'll send them in different emails, but I'll start with this one that I have a picture to go with. Back in 2011, I used to live in Selland's Grove, and I lived in a house that used to be a bar in earlier years. It's not confirmed, but that's just what the landlord told us. They told us that the people had passed in that house at the bottom of our stairs. We had a big mirror hanging up, and on my DSI, I'd taken a picture of myself and my mom's boyfriend at the time, and behind us, you could see the back of his head. You could also see a pale person looking in the opposite direction. When living in this house, everyone that lived in there felt a negative presence. There were nightmares, there were fights, there was a hole in my bedroom wall. I had a nightmare that I was stuck in that room and couldn't get out. I woke up to myself peeling that hole in the wall and making it bigger. To this day, I have nightmares about that house. Update. Hi again, I have another one for you. That's all I'll share today. I don't want to blow up your inbox. I grew up in Sullivan County, Pennsylvania, and it is, I believe, the only town in Pennsylvania with one stoplight in the whole county. There are a lot of spirits in town. Where we lived, there were 7 miles out of town, more in between the mountains. So when you lost power, we also had no cell service. We were cut off from the world. The house we lived in was haunted, so were the woods outside of the house. We also lived literally next door to a cemetery. I used to hate being alone there, so did my siblings. I would sit on my bed and hear full-blown mumbled conversations going on the second floor between 2 different women. When I would get up to listen, it would get quiet. This happened all the time. My younger brother and I were sitting downstairs watching TV one night by ourselves. No one else was home, and we heard a big thud upstairs. So we get up to go look, and our parents' TV remote was on the middle of their bed before, and now it's on the floor. When you go back, you had a feeling that you were being chased or followed. Occasionally, a big shadow would run out of the woods and run back in. It would get so big it would cover our neighbor's porch light. We've also heard our own voices calling us outside during broad daylight. I've got a handprint on an upper window on the second floor of my parents'. That sounds like a melting pot of activity. There's so much going on there. Put up protections. Oh my god. Alright, next story. Every few nights, I'll wake up at 2 in the morning and hear something scraping against my floor that sounds like it has four limbs all touching the floor with really long nails. I'll just sit there sobbing and praying, reciting the same thing over and over again. Loki, please protect me. I'm pagan and work with Loki. Then I wake up in the morning, fine, not remembering going back to bed. This only ever happens in my bedroom when I sleep, and in other places it doesn't happen. I have animals, but they don't come into my room at night, and my door is closed so they can't get in anyways. Okay, so let's talk about that. You said you work with Loki. Have you done any protection rituals with him helping you? I would recommend doing that. Definitely need some protections on you, especially in that room. Cleanse that space in your room. If you haven't, I'm sure you probably have. But I would definitely do that. And if you do deity work, have Loki help you. All right, next story. My parents were searching for a house to buy for months and finally bought one in 2022. It was a very old house in comparison to the others in the area, but it was affordable and in commercial area. We moved in during the summer, and all the new neighbors, as well as the realtor of the house, told us that a Chinese family had lived there before us several years ago. Once we moved in, everything was fine. Fantastic, in fact, other than the immediate need for renovations. During early of 2023, I began to notice strange things happening around the house. Once me and my sister were in my room on the top floor, and we heard our grandmother and mother calling our names several times. We went to the stairs and heard us being called clearly. We ran downstairs to find my mom in front of the TV and my grandmother in her room, completely separated. We asked why they called us, and they looked confused, saying, "I never called you." After a few weeks, I began to see things. I was climbing up the stairs to the second floor during the middle of the night and saw a figure with long brown hair directly in front of me turn and run inside. I ran to the second floor and no one was there. Everyone was asleep, even my sister, who has hair somewhat similar to that, and I convinced myself I just imagined it. Then things would get even stranger. In the days leading up to my exams, I began to stay up all night studying while everyone else in the house was asleep. My room door would be open at night with my sister and parents' room in clear view. My grandmother was in the hospital at the time, so she wasn't home. I would go down for a quick drink of water at 4 in the morning usually, and everything would be normal. But then at 7, I would come down to find all the burners of the stove on full blast. I'd close them immediately and began keeping an eye on them each night. Each night, no one left their rooms, but the burners would be off. Then in the early morning, either me or my mom would find all of them switched on. This would happen randomly, and my mother was completely convinced that I was doing it to pull a prank on her. Then it happened countless times, and I've seen no one go downstairs at night. Ugh. Once I was feeding my cats at night with everyone upstairs, and as I was entering the kitchen from the living room, I saw a woman with black hair and a white nightgown run across the room. She jumped over the table at an extremely fast pace. In the 2 seconds it took me to enter the kitchen doorway, I instantly stepped back and there was no one there. I picked up my cats and started reciting a prayer while going up the stairs. I could hear whispers from the dark side of the living room as I went up. These encounters are random and they only happen to me. I'm very spiritual, but I've never ever tried to make contact with the other side. I haven't had any encounters recently, but every time I think about them, I get very shaken up. I'm the only one who's seeing this. My mother thinks I'm lying and I'm playing tricks. Despite being 18 and terrified, my sister refuses to talk to me. I don't know if whatever this is malicious or not, but I hate it. I hope whatever this is doesn't happen again. I would cleanse and put up protections, because yeah, something's going on in that house, and if you're scared, it doesn't need to stay. So I would do both of those. Alright, next story. For some background, when I was born, I had some health complications and I'm disabled. It was a traumatic birth and 72 hours of labor for my mom. My great-granddad, named Robert, or Bob for short, was so excited for me to arrive, and once I did, his health deteriorated. As my mom and I got better, he got worse. He passed a few days after my baptism. My family all believes he held on for my baptism and that he subconsciously was giving his life for my mom and I to be healthy. My disability is mild and I could have been so much worse. I'm ambulant and able to live independently, but there are some very high risks that I could be nonverbal, wheelchair bound, or completely dependent. I believe he gave me his life so that I had the best quality of life that he could manage. I've always had an inexplicable attachment to him. When I was younger, I used to just cry because I was so overwhelmed with emotions regarding him. It felt as if I was feeling all of the loneliness and hurt that he was feeling, having passed on, but not being able to let go. As I've gotten older, I've gotten less negative, but more so like an intense longing for something whenever I think about him. Here's the first story regarding him. This is one of my earliest memories, and my family witnessed this too. I was playing in my great-grandma's living room with my granddad Bob's model taxi cabs on the floor next to the shelf where the ashes are kept. I look up at the living room door and my granddad is there playing peekaboo with me and making funny faces. So I'm giggling and both my mom and great-grandma look at me and they look at the doorway and ask why I'm laughing, and I tell them point blank, Granddad's making funny faces. Growing up, I always spoke to him as if he were there. I never sat in his seat in my grandma's living room because I didn't want to accidentally sit on him. Second story. I had come out as trans and decided on a name and changed it legally. My middle name is now Robert to honor my granddad Bob. After a few weeks of having changed it legally, I was really ruminating on the thought of my granddad not accepting me and being angry that I used his name, but I never discussed these worries with anyone. Unprompted, my auntie had told me that she had a dream in which my granddad came to her and just told her, "Tell him I'm proud of him," and she just knew it was a message for me. Even now, 4 years later, I'm tearing up thinking about it, to know he accepts me and that he's proud of me. Whew. Whew. Every time, every film, one story makes me cry every time. I've done everything to try and manifest him so I can talk to him now as an adult, but either he's really passed on or he just doesn't want to talk to me directly because he never shows. Now when I think about him, he's happy and content, but he misses my great-grandma a lot. Thank you so much for your content. Yep, that'll do it. Whew. Thank you guys so much for sending me in those stories. And, whew. That one got me. That got me. I'll see you next time.